Hello friends, my name is Abhay'Kulkarni and today's our topic of discussion is what is JPA and today's date is 17 August. So let's start the today's video topic. So first we'll see what is JPA. So Spring Boot JPA is a Java specification for managing the relational data in the Java applications where it should be connected with the JDBC or the SQL server, or you can manage your data with the SQL server as well. It the allows us to access or persist data between the JDBC API, or we can say between the Java object or class and the relation database. The JPA follows the object relation mapping, that is ORM, object relational mapping, and it is a set of interface. So it is an interface which we implement, such as for example I have a class called as employee repository class with that interface uh, employee repository which implements the JPA interface. So it also provides the runtime entity manager and API for processing the queries as well as the transaction on the object against the database. So this is all related to the JPA communications. So now we will see what is its use. So it is used a platform independent object oriented query language, that is object oriented query language, Java persistent query language. In the context of persistence, it covers the areas, that is three areas. First one is Java persistence API, second one is object relational metadata, and third one is the API itself. So the three main elements are the Java persistent API, the object relational data, and the API itself. So API itself, so it is defined in the persistent package that JPA is not a framework. It defines a concept such that it can be implemented by any framework. That is, it can be implemented by any framework. That means in the Java we can create the class, for example the student, and from that student class if we make the interface such as student repository, that interface extends the JPA interface, and from that interface we can communicate with the SQL server, and that it is considered as the metadata between the SQL server and the our microcontroller. So why we should use the JPA? So JPA is a simpler, cleaner, and the labor intensive so than SQL, and the handwritten mapping is also present inside the JPA. So JPA is the main advantage of JPA over JDBC is that in the JPA it represents by the objects. So while in JDBC the data is represented by the table and records. It represents the table as a objects, and it represents in the JDBC the objects are created as a tables and records. Therefore, the POJO is being constantly used in the persistent data specifies the data is programmed. So we will see the somewhat features of the JPA interface. So it is a powerful repository, that is we can say that we can implement our repository interface by extending that JPA repository interface, and it supports the cross-store persistent, that means the graph database management system. It supports the graph database management system as well. It is the main feature of a JPA. And then we will see somewhat the architecture of a JPA, that consists the persistence. It is a class that contains the static methods, that is called as a persistent. Next element is that entity manager entity. So the what is entity? For example, I have to create the objects and pass the objects of a class student. So I will call it the student class as an entity. So what is entity manager? It is an interface. It controls the persistence orientation of the object. It works as a query instance. So next one is entity. The entity represents the persistence object, that means the objects. For example, here we are passing the object of a student class, that is roll number of a student, name of a student, and the percentage of a student. So this is all about the uh, uh, entity. Next, the persistence unit. So what is persistence unit is that it defines the set of all entities in class. For example, in our condition it is of a student class, It is an application where entity manager is the instance. So the set of entity class represents the data contained within the single data core. So this is all about the persistence unit. Next one we will see the entity transaction, and the last one is query. The query, it is the interface that is can be implemented by each JPA vendor. So query can be implemented by the each JPA vendor. That means we can implement that and we can run our query according to our needs. So this is all about the today's video. Thank you for watching.